Welcome to another episode of Labstream AI, where we explore how artificial intelligence and smart systems are transforming the way fintech and SaaS companies scale. I'm your host, Mayrak Hamza. Today's guest brings a rare combination of medical school training, Six Sigma Black expertise, and deep financial strategy and know-how. He's helped companies reach unicorn status several times. He's led CFO transformations that board members rave about, and founded SaaS Gurus, a fractional CFO firm redefining how startups manage growth, or how do we stop firefighting and start scaling with confidence. This episode is for you. If you've ever wondered, how to get the numbers right, Anthony's the guy. Anthony Nitsos, welcome to Labstream AI. Let's start by having you introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey, thank you. Love to be on the show. Yeah, you're right. I started off as in medical school. I dropped out when I realized, no, I really don't want to be a doctor. So Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park fame and I have that in common, since he's a med school dropout as well. I think he went on to make a little more money than I did, and a little more famous. I like to think of myself as infamous in the SaaS world. I'm Basically, after that, went into manufacturing, as you pointed out, became a Six Sigma Black Belt process re-engineer expert, since manufacturing companies and human bodies share a lot of similarities in terms of how they operate or don't, or symptoms and how they need to be treated. So it was really kind of a strange but easy transition for me. After that, somebody found out that I actually had some accounting chops, because I was learning that on the side, and they said, hey, how about if you come over and do these ERP implementations? So that was right before the whole Y2K thing. So I did that for a few years and got really savvy in the whole IT space and how to process improve that. After that, of course, there was no jobs, because by the time year 2000 came along, nobody was buying ERP systems anymore, because they either had bought them or they'd figured out how to fix their code. So I was let go from that position and immediately transitioned in being a controller for a Japanese company, and that was a fascinating experience. We took that company 10x'd their revenue in 3 years. Rebuilt all their back office systems so that the 3 people that I had working for me at the beginning when we were at 5 million were the same 3 people working for me at 50 million. We'd automated everything so that all of our financial statements, everything came to us without us having to lift a finger. Got bored after that, because I'd pretty much done there, and said, these guys over in finance seem to be having a lot more fun than the people in accounting. So I decided to pack everything up, went over to St. Andrews, Scotland for a year, picked up a master's of finance degree, came back to the United States, opened up my shingle, and I've been doing fractional work ever since. That was back in about 2006. 2007, I got my first SaaS client. Around 2015, I actually went back full time. That was the 2 unicorns that I worked on for the next couple, 3 or 4 years, actually. And then after that, I said, you know what? I've had enough of being somebody else's employee. I'm going back to being my own CEO. And I founded SaaS Gurus right as COVID hit. Yeah, I'd already been doing stuff remotely anyway. So I was like, okay, yeah, I don't have any problem schlepping from my bedroom to my office to work. And so that's what I've been doing ever since.
Nice. You saw me smile a little bit when you mentioned in 2000 there was no jobs. I was laughing because you used your hands, and that's very Greek of you. Maybe that's the Sicilian side. I'm not sure, but I'm Persian, so we do the same thing.
Us Greeks understand you Persians really well. We go way back.
We do. We go way back. Go way back. Definitely.
You have my utmost respect.
Likewise. So can you walk us through your journey from med school to CFO to finding SaaS Gurus? I mean, you kind of went through it, but was there,
The thing is that understanding how the human body works, right? That, first thing they train you in medical school is all these systems and organs and all this other stuff. And it's fascinating how amazingly interconnected our bodies are, and how if one thing goes wrong, it can throw everything else off. It's like this house of cards almost. But then how resilient our bodies are to recovering. And, I decided I didn't want to be a doctor, right? I made it all the way through the medical school phase. And I'm like, no, I just don't, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. So moving over to manufacturing, it was really, yeah, I'm in Michigan. That starts with an M. I came from medicine. That starts with an M. And manufacturing starts with an M. So I might as well go, with the whole M&M thing, right?
Right.
Just happened to get a job in manufacturing. And they quickly realized, this guy actually knows how to diagnose system problems and figure out how to fix them. Because what, typically would happen is they'd have a problem and they just slap a solution on it like a Band-Aid. But me, I was like, no, let's find out what the real cause of this thing is and go back however many steps we need to go back into whatever chain of events we need to go back and find that event, find that point in time where this started and ask ourselves why until we get to a solution. And so I'd bring back solutions and say, okay, the reason why we're stocking out on this item is because of this. The reason why we're overstocking on this is this, because this line keeps shutting down because of this. And so as a result of that, I was able to become a process re-engineer very quickly. And they trained me on the whole Six Sigma black belt process stuff and all that, which to me was like duck to water. That's science. It's statistical processing, right? And it was like I have a whole science background, so it was very easy. Yeah. But, in the end, I knew I didn't really want to stay in manufacturing. And so it just so happened that on the side, I was like, okay, my dad, wise Greek that he is, he said, well, if you're not going to be a professional as a doctor, you need to be a professional as something else. He said, what about law or accounting? And I'm like, no, I don't want to be a lawyer. I was just, yeah. Sorry, that sounds worse than being a doctor.
The stigma, yeah, no, we're good.
But the accounting thing, that sounds interesting. And so I started taking some courses here and there. And eventually it's like, no, this accounting stuff is super powerful because it also analyzes the company and you also get an understanding of the company from the inside that nobody else has. All the numbers are there. You get to see all the activity. And so along the way of becoming a process re-engineer, I became a certified management accountant. That combination is what the ERP guys were really interested in when they recruited me. They said, hey, you understand manufacturing, clearly. You understand accounting. That's not a common combination. And you're a process person. You said, you're perfectly suited to implementing these large systems. And so that's what I did. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I'm like, IT is back then, we're talking a while ago. Back then, ERP was like cutting edge. SAP was new on the scene and, there were the other systems that were coming out. And so being able to unify the entire company in one platform was really appealing to me because in the manufacturing work that I had done, it's like, okay, we've got the material planning system and accounting got its system over here and purchasing has its system over here. And the three were like silos and was constant of having to coordinate between the two using people. And it just struck me as like, the human body doesn't do that. It has communications. It's called a nervous system, right? It's got, flow. It's got a blood flow system. It's like, why can't we integrate these systems? And so the ERP was like, this is perfect, right? You got your purchasing, you got your accounting, you got your bill of materials and engineering, you've got manufacturing, you got it all in one platform. And so that was really eye-opening for me as to how to really improve the processes within a company simply by adding essentially what amounted to a master nervous system, a brain. That's what the ERP systems were.
Yeah, well, you have a brain, obviously, from a doctor to finance.
I don't know. Talk to my wife. I think she'd disagree with you on that point. And my teenage kids for sure will tell you that I do not have any brains.
Join the club. It's cool. We don't know anything. I get that.
We don't know anything. I get that. Yeah. When you turn 25 and realize actually how much I did know, then we can talk.
Right. What motivated you to build a firm? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was like, you're segueing right into like where I was going. What motivated you to build a firm focused on financial and operational ecosystems for SaaS companies? Was it because, I know you like to solve.
Ultimately I'll tell you, fast forward a little bit. So the ERP gig was over. Then it's like, okay, I need to do something next. And along the way I had actually, I'm skipping a lot of steps. I lived in Japan for about a year. And so I knew how to speak. Nihongo shaberu no?
No.
Okay.
I just know one word in most languages and people start talking to me fluently. That's a good one. Like, just kidding. It's Thank a sushi thing.
Yeah, you know what? That's totally fine, as long as you speak sushi.
Yeah.
So ERP thing was done. They're letting me go. I got the call 2 days before Thanksgiving. Suck you very much for calling me 2 days before my holidays and telling me that you're firing me because you guys mismanaged the practice, but I won't get into that. So the long and short of it, a recruiter found me and he said, you know manufacturing and you know ERP systems and you have this certified management accountant degree or certification, and you speak Japanese. There's this Japanese company that just bought a company in your backyard. It's like 30 miles from my house. Would you be interested in being their controller? Now, I had never held an accounting job in my life. I mean, I was a certified management accountant, but that was from an analytics point of view. And I knew the other stuff, but it's like, sure, why not? Was my answer. Like, hey, I needed a job. Accounting was fascinating to me. It seemed like the universe had opened up a door that was waiting for me to walk through. And so they hired me. And I spent the next 90 days not sleeping because I didn't know how to reconcile a bank account. I didn't know how to close books. I didn't know any of the day-to-day stuff of accounting. And I had to learn fast. And the prior controller was nowhere to be found. He had quit when he thought the company was being bought by the Japanese. He figured he was out of a job, so he found another job. So I learned how to be a controller by pulling these books off the shelf that said how to be a controller. It was really funny. And I read them and I learned, hey, one thing being a medical student, they teach you how to study.
Right.
And they teach you how, and this is, so I learned, the thing is, I've been learning, manufacturing, and I learned accounting and I learned ERP, not because somebody trained me in it, but because I had to figure out how to do it myself. ERP was new back then. They didn't have a playbook on how to implement it. So we basically invented our own playbook on how to implement it. The manufacturing process, I told you about the fact that all the systems were dissociated and needed to be brought together. So the entire thing that I've been doing throughout all this time was learning how to build things without any preconceived notions, without any knowledge ahead of time of this is how it's supposed to be done, and just figuring out the best way to do it. And it turned out that a lot of the stuff that I came up with was pretty good. So after that controllership, like I said, we reached the maximum sales stage. We had tripled 10x the company's revenue. I'm sitting there with literally nothing to do. I mean, if I had a day's worth of work in a week, that was a busy week. And so I said, I'm bored. I'm getting paid to do nothing but sit here on my butt and read the Wall Street Journal and let things break so I have something to fix. This isn't doing me any good. I'm going nowhere. And so that's when I decided I wanted to become, get a master's degree in finance, because finance is forward-looking. Finance is predicting. Finance is risk assessment. Finance is all the investment stuff. Accounting is backwards looking. It's taking into it's accounting for what has happened. It's rear view mirror by nature, right? So if you're thinking of a car, your finance person is the driver looking forward, seeing what's going on, and he's using the dashboard to see what's happened or what's, happening in the immediate term to find out where they've been. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a forward thinker. I would rather be doing that. And I'm done building these systems here. I've taken this as far as I can. And so when I came back to Michigan, because that's where my roots are and I love the state. By the way, we have all of your water, the rest of the world. So just if we're clear on that, we have all your water.
Lakes. Yeah, all the lakes.
We have all it's like I say, we have all y'all's water. So as everybody else starts drying out, we've got it here. Come live in Michigan. It's really wet. I decided to come back to Ann Arbor. I love the city, got my degree here. It's like, why would I move anywhere else? And that's when I basically partnered up with another guy and we started doing the whole fractional CFO and controller stuff for all sorts of companies. Didn't really matter at that point. But like I said, this SaaS company came across our bow around 2007. I hadn't even heard the term before. It's like, oh, you can rent software. You don't have to download it on your computer like Microsnot makes you do. That's interesting. That's fascinating. And I was hooked. So we didn't have a whole lot of them. Michigan is not known for being a SaaS, hotspot, right? It's not Silicon Valley. But along the way, the CFO of a SaaS company in Ann Arbor came across me and my website, reached out to me one day and said, we're scaling really rapidly. We're looking for a director of finance. to help us scale the company and put our systems into place and help us figure out how to grow this thing. And I'm like, that sounds like me. And so
Yeah.
they hired me, and that was Duo Security. Duo
Oh, nice.
Security, we 10x'd their revenue in 3 years from the time I landed to the time I left. And I did exactly that for the CFO. I built all of the back office systems and a lot of stuff that wasn't done right in the beginning, having to fix that and having to spend a lot of money fixing on those things that, like, if they had just if they had gone back in time like 3 or 4 years ago and realized we're going to need this only at 100 times the scale of what we're doing it right now, things would have gone a lot easier. And that was really what brought home the lesson for me, is that when we did that greenfield implementation, we took that manufacturing company and 10x their revenue. There were no systems in place. I got to design everything from the ground up. And at the time, barcode scanning and information system flow was kind of like state of the art. So I set up the manufacturing floor so that all of the labor data, all the material data, all the cost data was being fed into the system without a human being have to input it, and was all going
Nice.
into the ERP system. And so by being able to do that from the get-go and saying, you know what, I can design this thing right now the first time so that when we do grow, we're not going to have any problems. I come into Duo Security, they're already established, and there's a lot of systems already in place. And so we're having to retrofit stuff. We're having to go back and fix things that had been gone wrong to try and get them so that we could scale. And it was a really great lesson in terms of, man, if you could just do this early and set up the systems right from the beginning, you can save yourself a ton of money, and you can also keep your finance and accounting systems from being in the way of scaling. Because that, as a rapidly scaling company, the last thing you want to be doing is struggling to get numbers,
Right.
struggling to collect accounts receivable, even right from your customers, struggling to get the KPIs out to the management team so that they know what's going on in the company. And so left Duo, moved over to Lamasoft for about 7 or 8 months and worked with their CFO to help them with their systems. And then I decided, you know what? There's a need here for these really small SaaS startups, for somebody like myself and my team to come in and say, you know what? We're going to design your systems right from the beginning. We're going to set up your accounting system the way it needs to be set up so your financial statements are SaaS. We're going to set up your forecasting system so that you're forecasting cash, because in SaaS, there are only two metrics that matter, people. Get this through your head: ARR growth and sales and cash. That's it. How much cash runway you have if you're VC backed is the single most important metric you need to pay attention to, because without cash, you're dead. And the only reason you're going to get more cash is if your ARR growth is matching what your investors want it to be.
I don't know if the
Though,
stars are aligned here, if we're on the same page, but you're tracking right to where I'm heading with this. You've worked with a variety of founders and executive teams. What's the one trait you see consistently in companies that scale successfully?
they really figure out the go-to-market. That's it. You have founders that have created a product, right? Hey, this is a great product. It does this nifty new thing. I bet there's a market for it. They get some investors to throw some seed money into it. They figure out there is a market, there's a great product. But then that's the struggle begins. It's like, A, do you really understand your ideal customer profile? B, do you really understand the avatars that you need to be speaking to inside of that ICP? C, do you have the channel in order to reach those people? And D, do you have the message that's going to get their attention? And on the other side that's on the marketing side. On the execution side, do you have a sales team that can do something other than close a door, right? Do they actually know how to close a deal? So the two parts that I see the biggest struggles is on that go-to-market strategy and figuring that DNA out, and then executing on the leads that come in and closing the deals so that you get customers. And then
Right.
the third step after that is keeping those customers and expanding them. Right.
That
So
no, that's
that chain right
beautiful.
there, that's it. Then yeah, that's your ARR, right? That's that number one metric you need to pay attention to, is that ARR growth. You solve that solves the ARR growth. The cash situation, you need an expert in there who understands how to put together a cash forecast that you can understand, that your executive team can understand, that's actually works. And that's something that, I really learned over the years is that cash is, we say cash is king. Yeah, it's your
Right.
blood supply. Without
Right.
blood, you're dead. Okay.
Right. And
Without
this, you,
cash, you're dead.
yeah, you segueing. It's crazy. You segueing perfectly into our topic for today about growth in SaaS and a CFO's perspective. You talk about building finance and stakeholder ecosystems. What does that mean in context of a sustainable SaaS growth?
Number one, we start with, I'll give you kind of walk you through a typical engagement. We come into a client. The first thing I take a look at is all the back office systems and everything else that they have that are feeding those. So I'm looking at the quote to cash cycle. I'm looking at the vendor payment cycle. I'm looking at the financial reporting cycle. I'm looking at your HR policies and your benefits plans. I'm looking at everything that I can get my hands on, because there isn't a single decision that goes on in your company that doesn't have a financial impact. None. Everything that you do in a company sooner or later is going to show up in the financial. So as the CFO, I have to be just as knowledgeable of the company as the CEO. I have to understand everything that's going on. So the first thing we do is I come in and I do an extensive audit of everything that I can ask questions about. And then the process starts. We're going to rebuild your financial statements so that you can get your gross margin, critical information that you need to run your company. We can get your CAC, critical information to determine whether you're efficient on your marketing and sales efforts. I need to have all of this information at my fingertips. I can't be struggling for it. Once we have that financial core built, and have you ever done yoga?
I
They
have.
always talk about, they talk about having a strong core. That's your accounting system.
Well, you got to have
That
a
is your
strong
accounting system.
CFO too, though. You said it right. CFOs are the CEO, really, with the financial pencil. I call it
Yeah.
sharpen your pencil. I mean, you guys do
we
it.
need we're your doctors, okay? That's why this fits me so well. It's like I look upon it as I'm there for the financial health of the company. That means I need to be able to understand the status of the patient from top to bottom from the beginning, and then figure out what that patient needs. In many cases, financial reporting systems are set up by a tax CPA. That's the last person you want to set up your chart of accounts. Why? Because they're not going to do it the way you need it. SaaS financial statements, there is a way to do them. There is a standard way to do them. It's not guesswork. We come in and put it that way. Your investors are going to be looking for gross margin. That's a huge number. If you don't have the right costs in there, you're not going to have proper gross margin.
Well, again, you're segueing right into where I'm going. This margin business you're talking about. Many startups chase growth at all costs. From your experience,
You can't.
what are you already read my. What are the hidden dangers of that approach, especially financially? I mean, you said it.
The biggest hidden danger is you're going to, what I call the frost the glass sales process. Hey, this prospect frosts our glass. Let's sign them up. What happens
Oh,
when they churn 3 months later because you sold a product that they don't need or doesn't fit them? Right? So
nightmare.
this is a pitfall that I see happening a lot. Is like, oh, we need sales, sales, sales. Go out, sell, sell, sell. I don't care who they are. Just sell it to them. No, don't do that. Because what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a churn and contraction number on the back end that's going to make your next round of investors look at you and say, you're a bad risk. You can't keep your customers. They leave out as soon as you bring them in, they leave. And so you have logo churn, you have, your net retention numbers suck. That's a big pitfall. You do not just go out there and sell to whoever is willing to write you a check. You need to sell to who's going to stay with you and give you an opportunity to expand. That comes back to that go-to-market strategy. Do you really understand that your target segment? Do you really understand who your ICP is? Because if you're not selling to the ICP, chances are they're going to churn, and that's going to come back to haunt you.
You talk about integrating all those systems and how you take the manufacturing line and you streamlined it all back to one reporting console. How do you think those integrated tech stacks and systems architectures play a role in reducing waste and improving the long-term scalability? I mean, you kind of touched on it already, but
It's
I think we need to
crucial.
bring that back. Yeah.
It's crucial. We have a tech stack that we work with, a tech stack that we know works, right? We say, okay, this is what you're going to need for accounting. Here's how you're going to set it up. Here's what you need for financial forecasting. Here's how we're going to set it up. Here's what you need for your SaaS metrics and your KPIs. Here's how we're going to set it up. Here's what you should use for your CRM. Here's what you use for your CPQ. And we
Nice.
get all of those systems and the HR systems. So over the years, we've developed relationships with software companies that we like, that do what we want them to do, right? And our team is very familiar with them, and we know how to play them, really well. And so when we're coming in and saying, we're going to build you'd say the financial ecosystem, I call it the financial core, it's the same thing. We're going to build this thing so that your quote to cash is efficient, right? From the point where you quote to where they accept the quote, to where they sign the sales order, to where the invoice is generated, to when the cash lands in your bank. You want that as fast as possible, right?
For sure.
That's another area that I see a lot of struggles with. Oh, yeah, we got all these sales. I said, yeah, and your accounts receivable looks like crap because you have 30% of it's over 90 days and nobody's calling, how did that happen? Oh, well, we sent all these orders out. I said, yeah, but did you send the invoices out with purchase orders that your customers require? Oh, right. It's simple little stuff like that that's just it's like throwing grit in the machine. It just keeps adding up and adding up. So when you design these, that goes back to my point. It's like, and that greenfield implementation where we could scale it 10 times revenue inside of 3 years, and I was given complete carte blanche on how to design those systems, that to me was a once in a lifetime experience. And I keep going back to that in my mind saying, that's what I want to do with my clients is set the systems up right now, so that we don't have a problem in invoicing. We don't have a problem in forecasting. We don't have a problem in cash collections. We don't have any of the problems that could come back and bite us. And we're giving the management team the KPIs that they need to understand whether they're doing things right or not, benchmarked against the rest of the industry.
So really build the systems to scale before it happens. So where do you see most SaaS companies go wrong when forecasting or budgeting during the high growth period?
Cash. Not understanding cash and how it actually behaves. It comes from, I mean, it's like, okay, we got $5 million of investment money. Let's go start spending it. That's great. When is it going to run out? Right? When's it going to run out?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Only you know that. The CFO is going to say, hey, we're running to the cliff, guys. What's coming next?
The CEO could probably put together a cash forecast, but is that really their best use of time? They need to be guiding product strategy. They need to be guiding the sales team. They need to be giving the customer success team their merits and what they need to be following. They have a company to run. It's like, I go to my doctor for my health checkup to make sure that all my, blood work is correct and all my vital signs are correct, but I'm the CEO of my body. I'm running it. My doctor is the one who's telling me whether I'm keeping it healthy or not, or what I need to do to improve it. To me, the CFO is the doctor of the company. They're there to diagnose and make sure that everything stays healthy and to raise their hand saying, this doesn't look right, or this is trending in the wrong direction, or, oh, by the way, you're going to run out of cash in September and it's July. And telling them back in January, you're going to run out of cash in September.
And reminding them
every month, you're going to be running out of cash in September. What are you doing to go get more money?
And they're blind. They're blind to the revenue in the future, and you need somebody looking behind you and making sure to fill those gaps. You mentioned all these tools, right? That this set that you come. I love that you have the whole gamut of A to Z, like back end. You can retrofit or pipe it new. How do you see AI-driven financial tools and automation improve a CFO's decision making or accuracy?
So where I see it helping me right now is, number one, in the past, if I didn't know, I don't know everything, right? Nobody does. Okay, there are plenty of things that come up that I need to know the answer to. It could be something as silly as, how do I accelerate all the vesting of the options in this platform, to what's
we all like to accelerate options. Let's get them vested.
What's the implication for a reverse merger across the border back with a Canadian company that owns, AI for me is a really two great tools that I use it for today. One is asking it questions that I otherwise would have to call somebody and ask, right? I can type in my question to whatever ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever it happens to be and get an answer that I can then look at and say, does this make sense to me, or do I need to dig into it further, or how do I follow up on it? I don't have to call my buddy Jim. I don't have to call my buddy John. I don't have to sit there and interrupt their days, wait for them to maybe respond, send them an email or Slack or whatever. It's instant. I can get answers a lot faster And like I said, there's the intricate stuff, and then there's the silly stuff, like how do I set this up in Ramp, right? Stupid stuff like how do I set this up in
How do I get my
Bill.com?
debit card?
Right. It could be stupid stuff like I don't really have time to go look at your user manual and figure it out myself. I'd rather just ask the AI to tell me. It goes out and looks at your user manual and tells me how to do it. That's been a huge time saver for me. Just that one thing, being able to ask an AI questions on how do I do X and getting an answer. That's number one. So for a CFO professional like myself, not having to interrupt my day to ask somebody questions is huge. Where I see AI also coming in is the stuff that's rote, bookkeeping. That's the first thing that's going to get replaced by AI. I haven't seen it reliably done yet. Maybe it's out there and I just don't know about it. So I'm still using people to do that. But the stuff where transactions are fed into the accounting system and somebody needs to classify them, that kind of stuff should be AI-able, right? The other where,
yeah.
right? But as far as is AI a threat or a disruptor to me myself at this point, I don't know of any AI that can predict cash flow the way I do.
No, it's not. It's not human. AI it's
Right.
as good as what you feed it, right? I mean,
Right.
your experience cannot be in the machine unless you tell the machine, "This is what I know."
I have a lot more experience in doing this stuff than the AI does, right? So,
For
and
sure.
I have decades of experience and I have instincts. I can look at something and smell something wrong, right?
Can you
Right.
smell the
I've been doing it
cash?
for, I've been doing it for so long. It's like I can look at that and say, you know what? That doesn't make sense. AI
Right.
doesn't have that ability to self-reflect.
It does not.
It's going to
And
create
people
an
are,
answer. It's going to create an answer and it's going to give it to you, but it doesn't look at that answer and then check itself, right?
what you talk about for accounting is a lot easier than, for example, coding. I'm an engineer in computer science. People are thinking that AI is going to replace coders, and it's just not. The low level stuff, like you mentioned, classifying a category for something on your books. I get that. Coding and programming, never going to happen.
I don't know about never. Okay, never's a mighty long
High
time.
level, no. Low level, yes. I'm saying it could match up on the low
But
level
in the
coding.
short run, I think the fears that AI is going to eliminate a whole bunch of white collar jobs is overblown. I
It
think
is.
what AI is going to do is it's going to, people keep forgetting we keep going through these technological innovation waves. Like when the PC landed in the 1980s, people are like, I don't know, what's this thing going to do? And suddenly everybody's got one on their desk at work and they're all now able to do stuff a lot faster. A huge productivity gain. Then the 2000 comes along and we have this internet thing that comes out of nowhere, right? And again, we see another productivity boost in the US workforce and the worldwide workforce because now we have information available to us in an instant that we didn't before. That allows us to be more efficient. Now it's AI's turn. I don't think AI is going to eliminate jobs so much as it's going to make jobs go faster, better, and more efficiently. And it's like you just need to learn how to use that tool, folks. Let's not be afraid of it. I'm not worried that Skynet's going to nuke us all. I really don't. Okay. It's like, and I have my whole reasons why I don't think AI is going to ever do that to us. But I'm not in the, oh my God, the sky's falling type of worried about, AI is
Right.
taking over and we're sitting there with nothing to do but play Pinochle. Okay. It's a tool like any other tool that human beings have invented. There are good things about it and there are bad things about it. I choose to be on top of the tsunami, not standing on the shore watching it ready to wash over me. Okay. And
And
I
that,
look upon AI as a tsunami, right? It's coming,
definitely.
it's here, it's fast. I'm using it at every opportunity I can. My clients are using it to check on me, which is even funnier. It's like,
Oh, that's
yeah, well,
fun.
AI says this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but my 20 years of experience says that. Okay, that's not quite exactly correct.
Wow.
Okay, but that's fine because if nothing else, it's keeping me on my toes to make sure that I'm staying up on the most recent stuff. So the other thing I use, believe it or not, that I use AI for, which is a real time saver for me, is I hate typing. I never took a typing class in high school, so I don't know
You're
how
a
to
doctor. You guys
touch
have
type.
signatures like, yeah.
And you don't want to read my signature, it's illegible. I do what's called the seek and destroy method of typing, which is, right? All I have to do now is I have to hit the function key on my keyboard and start talking. and WhisperFlow will just put everything out nicely in beautiful paragraphs for me as I'm speaking them.
That's nice.
I don't have to type emails anymore. You realize I have multiple clients across, the world, literally. I'm dealing in all these time zones and all these different people. For me to have to sit there and respond to all the emails that I have to respond to takes a lot of time. And I'd have to charge for that, which means my clients are paying money for it. It's a lot better for both of us if I can just sit there and speak rather than type. And so those little kinds of it's like all these little things that AI can help. Being able to ask questions and get answers in milliseconds. Being able to have a really good dictation machine that actually dictates and writes what I'm telling it without me having to say period, question mark, paragraph change. I don't have to do any of that, right?
Right.
And it understands me. It actually spells correctly.
It does.
Kind of stuff, that kind of stuff is really cool. And then all my clients now, all the clients that we're getting, they're all AI. The SaaS is all AI.
That's the whole movement. And that kind of leads us to the last question in our podcast. What area of SaaS founders consistently underestimate when it comes to sustainable scaling? And how can they course correct before it's too late? I mean, I think you kind of touched on it at the beginning. Yeah, you touched it.
Don't ignore the back office. They call us the back office. That's because we're your back, okay? When your back hurts, how does the rest of you feel?
Everything hurts.
Right? Everything hurts, right? You can't get away from it. Your back hurts, everything hurts, right? Your back office hurts, everything hurts, right? You get frustrated with your CFO. You get frustrated with the accounting staff. It's like, why can't we get this done faster? Do not ignore that function, right? That's to me, like I said, that is the grease that enables your scaling, is somebody who is in the back office, who really understands how all these systems should be integrated and talking to each other, and making sure that you have the right numbers calculated correctly in a timely manner so that you can actually act on them, not 3 weeks after the month closes. And it's like, hey, how come I still don't have my profit and loss statement from June? And so I'm dealing with that right now. It's the 21st of July and we still don't have the books closed. Okay. This information this information is dated. It's stale. It's no longer relevant. And it's because, when I came into this particular client, they had a lot of manual systems and they had, a controller that was used to having ticking and tying everything on paper and files and all in Excel spreadsheets. And I'm like, no, well, that controller is gone and we have a new controller now. And that controller understands where I'm coming from. And that controller is as lazy as I am and doesn't want to have to go chasing numbers. They want numbers to come to her. And that's where looking at all the ways, you see, accounting is kind of like medicine in a way. They're used to doing things the old fashioned way, right? I'm sorry, guys, this is the 21st century. And these things are, we have automation tools. I told the team, one of my clients, I said, I want all my cash and credit card transactions done and reconciled by the 3rd day. I want all invoicing and revenue recognition done by the 5th day. And I want all accruals and everything necessary to close the books by the 7th day. And they said, well, we're not sure we can do that. And I said, then we're going to find somebody who can.
Or bring someone in who can do it for them, right?
Because those things are all achievable.
Right.
We have bank feeds that bring all of our information into our accounting system. All you have to do is click a box and move it. Why? As a matter of fact, in most cases, I have my client's cash analysis done by the 2nd business day.
Wow.
Why? Because cash is that important. And I have all the sales numbers and all the sales KPIs done by the 3rd business day.
Yeah, where were you at our last company? Our controller was not, our CFO, not even close to the game you're talking.
It comes from having the automation tools. It comes from having things that are feeding into. You see, human beings entering data is the worst possible system you could have.
Yeah.
Right? I learned that back in the manufacturing days before the year 2000, okay? That's like the worst place. The worst person you can have, worst thing you can have is having a human being doing data entry. Everything should be automated.
Well, that's what this is all about. Mm-hmm.
Automate, right? Simple, stupid stuff like making sure that your American Express card is integrated into QuickBooks, making sure that your Chase bank account is integrated into QuickBooks, making sure that QuickBooks talks to Maxio, which is your SaaS optics, the KPIs and the SaaS revenue recognition. They were doing revenue recognition on spreadsheets. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah,
That's
you're
crazy.
yeah, you're Anthony, the way you think and the way you move is very agile, and this today was packed with insight and clarity from finance fundamentals to intelligence scaling. I think a lot of our SaaS and fintech founders are going to rethink how they structure their growth plans after hearing this. For listeners who want to learn more, possibly working with SaaS gurus, where should they go?
So I have one of the rarest last names on the planet. If you Google my last name, there are fewer than 400 people in the entire world that have my last name. Nitsos, Nitsos. If you Google Anthony Nitsos, you will find me. Because
That's hot.
the only other Anthony Nitsos out there is a kid in Melbourne, Australia, and he doesn't do SaaS. I can tell you that,
You can
right?
just say Google me, Google Anthony Nitsos.
Google Anthony Nitsos. It's Anthony at SaaS, SaaS dash gurus, GURUS.com. Very easy to find. SaaS Gurus. If you look us up on the web, you're going to find our website. You find me on LinkedIn. There's contact pages. Like I said, if you Google me, you will find me. SaaS Gurus, as far as I know, we're the only company that's arrogant enough to name ourselves that. But we live, breathe, eat, talk. That's all we do is SaaS. I mean, I don't work in manufacturing. I don't work in retail. I don't work in services industries. Why? Because SaaS is exciting. I
You
get to
definitely have
see
the forte. Yeah,
I get to
I
see
know.
the coolest new software ever. Right? When my clients come to me and say, "Hey, I have this AI. We just got $1 million of seed money, and we're going to start scaling this thing, and this is what our AI does." I'm like, "Wow, that is just freaking cool."
You're lucky.
Right?
I'm going to chase your coattails. I want to thank you again for being here today. That ends, kind of wraps up our show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, my name is Mayrak Hamza, and this was Labstream AI. And until next time, build smart and grow smart.
Thank you.
Thank you.